Hey, on this not so cold, windy December day in Texas, I want to talk for a second or two about the subject of worry. I was reading in a magazine about this study that was done by the University of Pennsylvania a number of years ago, where they took 29 people who suffered from severe anxiety, and they asked them over the course of 30 days to write down all the things that worried them, that bothered them. And then at the end of 30 days, they asked them to write down the outcomes. That is, did those things actually happen? Remarkably, the study showed, now catch this, the study showed that of all of the things those people wrote down, and they wrote down a lot of things that they were worried about, 91% of those things never came to pass. And of those things that did come to pass, the people who responded admitted they were not nearly as bad as they thought they were. And in fact, in many instances, they actually turned out better and were positive things that happened in their lives. You know, worry is something we know we're not supposed to do. As Christians, Jesus said, don't worry about your life, but it's something that all of us do. And so how do we overcome it? Let me give you 3 really simple and very quick ways to help you. Number 1, admit that you have a problem. Admit that you're a worrier. The first step to solving any problem we have is to admit that we have one. I was reading in my Bible in 2 Kings 5 about a commander of the Syrian army named Naaman. He was a powerful man, a noble man, a mighty man, a valorous man, but the Bible says he had a problem he couldn't solve, that he was a leper. And Naaman had to swallow his pride, and he had to leave the land of Syria, go to the land of Israel, and at the word of the prophet Elisha, go under the Jordan River, a muddy river, 7 times to be healed. He had to swallow his pride, but he had to recognize that there was a problem in his life he couldn't solve. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't conquer this enemy. He couldn't vanquish this foe, and he needed help. Number 2, you have to take action. You have to decide that you're going to do something about your problem, and you have to get the help that you need. The first step is 1, admitting you have a problem. Number 2 is taking action, that I'm going to do something today about the problem that I have in my life. You know, what if I fail, right? That's the question. What if I fail? What if I don't get the problem solved? Well, listen, even if you fail, you're that much further along than anyone else who sat in their seat and didn't do something about it. And then number 3, you have to rely on the people that God has put into your life. You know, back to the story of Naaman. God put a servant girl who was living as a captive in Syria in his life, and she was the one that encouraged him, at least encouraged Naaman's wife, to tell Naaman to go to Israel. He could be healed of his leprosy. Naaman had servants that were with him, even when Naaman's pride was so big that he wanted to go back to Syria instead of doing what the prophet said, who encouraged him. You know, we've got to rely on the people that God has put in our lives. You know, the Bible says that we'll become like the people that we surround ourselves with. So surround yourself with godly people, people that will be an encouragement to you, people that you can trust, you can rely on, that you can be honest with, who will be honest with you. Listen, worry is something we all struggle with, but we can overcome it. 1, admit that you have a problem. Number 2, start to do something about it. And number 3, rely on the people that God has put into your life. You'll find some help that you need.